everybody, hello again. Hey, today I want to talk about something that's a little bit esoteric, perhaps. I've been thinking about it for like 24 hours because I didn't even know really where to start, but I'm going to give it a good shot and hopefully it makes sense. And where it came from is I wanted to, the other day I had this dream, right? And I like to kind of pay attention to my dreams because they're really good fodder for inspiration, right? So, I'll come back to the dream I had. So I had this dream which is going to lead me to talking about mythology, which is going to lead me to talking about archetypes and symbols, which is going to lead me back to talking about inspiration. And then at the end, I'm going to show you a little work in progress of this drawing I'm doing from my dream the other night. And it's the dream is a goddess-inspired dream, so I'll show you shortly. But the thing I wanted to talk about is this whole thing of inspiration, right? So let's start there and then we'll get weirder as we go, perhaps. Often I've come into my life where I've, as an artist, struggled for inspiration or struggled for ideas or been creatively blocked. And, I used to not really know where to go with that. And I often sit there with a piece of paper and a pencil just drawing cartoon faces over and over and getting pretty bored with myself and what I was drawing. And where it really got interesting for me, and I started to, now I feel like it's the opposite. Now I just have this stream of ideas that I just, mostly I just can't execute most of it. And I think, at some point I think you can make yourself a conduit for ideas. And I think at times in life they shut down, particularly under stress or pressure, often creativity can shut down. Kind of pressure and stress does not suit creativity. So partly I've learnt to, through a lot of the personal development programs I've done and a lot of meditation and the martial arts I do, I've learnt to deal with pressure and stress a lot better, which allows the creativity to keep flowing. So one thing I would say is if you find you're having a mental block because you're under pressure or stress, it's pretty normal in Western society. In fact, our society's geared for it. Everything's making us more stressed. And more, kind of wound up and, pressure to check Facebook and the pressure to read all your emails and the pressure to return your phone calls and texts, meet your work deadlines, be on time, keep up with your friends, all that stuff, it can weigh on you. So what there is to do is perhaps find ways for you to handle stress or deal with stress. And look, I need a couple of things, otherwise my habits have been pretty bad in the past. I turn to things that aren't very good, like alcohol and drugs and things like that, which take me down a path where I don't want to go, where that's too much, right? Particularly the alcohol, too much, drinking too much, right? So learning to find ways to deal with that, right? Or ways to deal with stress that are healthy. So, I've done, like I said, a lot of personal development. I've done a lot of programs with an amazing organization called Landmark Worldwide that transformed my life. I've done a lot of meditation, which is really great for stilling the mind and also for tapping into your subconscious, which there's a lot of fodder for creativity in your unconscious, right? And then thirdly, physical exercise, particularly martial arts, has been great for me. I think it's a combination of really, twice a week I sweat my ass off and I'm so mental most of the time, and like when I'm working, it's very mental, I think a lot, I write a lot, I draw a lot, so I'm partly doing this too, I need to get it out of my head, but I think that extreme physical exertion a couple of times a week, and I do pretty extreme because I just, I like it and it kind of suits my obsessive nature, really helps, right? So, I don't know what it is, maybe you got to run, some of my friends like to pound the pavement pretty hard, run hardcore, I'm just not a runner. My ankles don't really like it either. So I don't know, find whatever works. I like martial arts because I like the discipline, I like the camaraderie. I like thinking I'm Bruce Lee. It's a few problems with that. So anyway, that's the first thing. I'm kind of getting off track, but I think, that's what these are for, to see what kind of comes out. So first thing is inspiration, so dealing with stress. The second thing is, I believe there's inspiration all around us. And I think when you're not stressed and pressured, you can look at the world around you and it comes to you. So I get inspiration from nature a lot these days, a lot from mythology, from my dreams, from pop culture, from stories. So I wanted to kind of come back to a couple of things, right? So there's a guy who's really influential, and I talked about him in previous videos, Joseph Campbell, who's been influential in a lot of great thinkers, storytellers, storytelling itself, but also on personal development, growth, transformation. And he's also linked a lot of what his ideas and mythology linked also to what a lot of Carl Jung's work on the subconscious. So I wanted to read a quote from Joseph Campbell, okay? And you can look up his work. He passed a little while ago, but there's a lot of lectures out there. There's lectures on Spotify that you can look up. There's an amazing series called The Power of Myth, which was shot in Skywalker Ranch, not too early before he passed away. He had a big influence on the original Star Wars movies. George Lucas met with him, so there's a lot of, and I'll talk about the hero's journey another time. But that's a really interesting fable in itself. That's universal. But I wanted to read this quote from him, which is, "Myths are public dreams. Dreams are private myths. By finding your own dream and following it through, it will lead you to the myth world in which you live. But just as in dream, the subject and object, though they seem to be separate, are really the same." So it's that's like really quite out there, and it's really open to interpretation. But a couple of things. I guess I read it because what happened for me the other night is I woke up in the morning, and like I said previously, I like to sketch most mornings. And I woke up this morning and I had this, I remembered part of a dream where this woman had come to me in this dream, and she was dressed in like a raven feathered cloak, and she's quite luminescent skin. It was moonlit. She was, had those dark eyes and dark lips, and had feathers, like raven feathers, and there were ravens around in the air and the moon. I remember the full moon. And I was like, wow, that's pretty striking. And so I looked it up, and I looked up like crow and crow goddess, and it came up with Morrigan. And Morrigan is one of the triple goddesses from Celtic mythology. And I'll show you, if you hold on for a few more minutes at the end, I'll show you the drawing I've done, the progress of it. And I don't know, I love the idea of goddesses and gods. And I think wise, and particularly ones that are linked to nature and tribal societies like Celtic societies, in American Indian societies, all of the ancient tribal societies really, where we had pantheons versus single gods. And I think why is because what it represented is all these gods and goddesses represented us worshipping the environment around us and feeling grateful towards the environment around us. And I think we live in a pretty spiritually devoid culture, particularly in the West. I can't speak for the East, but definitely in Western society, it's spiritually devoid. People are resigned and had enough with organised religion, but kind of have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and there's a lot of turning to Eastern mythology and things like that. But anyway, so I got, not long ago, a few years ago now, I got really interested in pagan mythology, and looking at my own, being a white fella, obviously, I wanted to look at where white tribal society had gone from and where we kind of lost our way a bit, So I kind of got interested in pagan stuff, Druidism, Celtic religions, those kind of things. So anyway, it was interesting that this Morrigan came to me, and look, I could make it mean anything, and really the meaning I make it mean is my own meaning. It's not, there's no inherent meaning necessarily. And whilst what's interesting in dreams, when you looked at things like Carl Jung, and even Joseph Campbell talks about dreams and symbology, and you look at paintings, and I love surrealism, and I do a lot of surrealistic work because it's a lot of it's icons and symbols, and what does all that mean? I don't know. I'm just kind of ranting because I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. But my point is, find your inspiration. Like, I use my dreams. Start with your dreams. Start with your anxieties. I look at the way I feel when I'm angry or upset or happy or elated, and what does that symbolize? What's the symbols of that for me? What symbols speak to me? And that's where people ask me where do I come from, and a lot of my drawings and paintings look like they're quite out there, and I'm trying to find a unique way to articulate something. I don't want to do the same symbols that have been done before. There's no point to that. Necessarily, maybe some, but mostly I'm looking for ways to articulate something new for myself. So, look, my point is really today for you is find your inspiration and maybe stop and take a breath, go for a walk, look at the world around you, look at the things you're interested in, look at the books on your shelf, look at the kinds of movies or TV shows you watch, listen to the podcasts you listen to, or look at what kind of natural environments you feel good in, or kind of music you like to listen to. All those kinds of things. It's all around you. Inspiration is around you. You have to stop and breathe, though, to find it. Thank you, my friends. See you soon.